Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a video here to talk about the 11th Harry Potter movie. Now, to start off, I grew up on Harry Potter, kind of off and on. I saw the first four movies as soon as they released in theaters. Of course, the books and the movies started out being aimed towards my generation, and then they kind of became YA and scary, kind of horror-esque, which they really started out that way, but they only had elements of it back in the day. And then they kind of became more horrific, and it was part of my love of horror that made me like Harry Potter too. Everybody my age, except for other Christian kids that weren't allowed to, loved these movies and those books and whatever. I never finished the books though. Wanted to make that very clear for the beginning of this review. I have nothing to base my Harry Potter movie reviews on, and at some point I want to go through and marathon them all and review them all for you. I don't know if that would be a 2025 project. It may be. I don't know. I've been wanting to rewatch these films for like 2 years, and I just can't carve out the time because of backlog watching and whatever. But I really like the majority of the films. I've read the first 3 books and kind of Half-Blood Prince back in the day, like 10 years ago. And I liked all of them except for one. I'll get to that one of these days because I feel the same way about a particular movie. And anyway, I've seen all the films. I've seen the majority of the films, at least the regular mainstream Harry Potter films, at least more than once. Quite a few of them I've seen up to 10 and 15 and 20 times because I love them so much. Then there are certain entries that I could not give a shit less about ever having to sit through ever again. And now I move on to the Fantastic Beasts series. I saw each of these movies one time. I just got to see this movie I'm about to review, The Secrets of Dumbledore, which is part 3, for the first time ever. I know it came out in 2022. I meant to see it back then, and here we are almost 3 years later, and I finally got a copy for Christmas, with Christmas money, I mean, from Amazon, damaged, of course. The DVD in the combo pack is destroyed, the Blu-ray is okay. Don't buy any movies from Amazon, just so you know, because they will fool you, and they will give you a used copy that they sell to you brand new. Anyway, so Secrets of Dumbledore, is a movie that I went into after years of not having seen any of these other films, specifically the first 2 Fantastic Beasts films. It's been a while. I saw the first one when it first came to DVD, and then I bought part 2. I saw it probably a year after it came to DVD, and I didn't really like the first film all that much. I thought part 2 was really good. Crimes of Grindelwald really had a lot to offer for me. But this movie in particular, Secrets of Dumbledore, jumping into it, it was like forgetting a big majority of the previous 2 films. I knew who Newt Scamander was. That name is awesome, but I cannot get it down perfectly. I knew about the Jacob and Queenie stuff. I remembered those. I remembered that this is the movie where Johnny Depp was fired. Apparently he filmed like one scene, and then Disney let him go over the Amber Heard thing, which is really what harmed not only this potentially 5-film franchise, but also it harmed, Warner Brothers in this case. Poor Johnny Depp, man, he was done really wrong, but at least they replaced him with a great actor, Mads Mikkelsen, who I love quite a bit. He's a great actor in everything from Nicholas Winding Refn's Pusher movies to even being the villain in Doctor Strange, Hannibal Lecter. The dude is amazing. If you don't know who Mads Mikkelsen is, oh my god, you're missing out. But he came in to play Grindelwald this time as like the new disguise. We had, Colin Farrell, then we had Johnny Depp, now we have him. But again, I had forgotten the majority of the plot, so this review may seem like a non-fan talking about this movie. And you could almost argue that that's the case because I don't really consider myself a fanatic of the Fantastic Beasts series. After part 1, I didn't think I would like them all that much. Part 2 and part 3 have really saved that for me in a lot of ways. I kind of wish I would hold off and do this review after I had rewatched everything. Not only the Fantastic Beasts films, but the Harry Potter movies too, in kind of a big marathon for you all. But I thought a lot of reviews, and personally this is my opinion, a lot of reviews are more interesting when somebody puts out their thoughts for the first time ever. So hopefully that gives some context to where I'm coming from this review after 5 minutes of rambling. So anyway, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore's Closet. So this is the thing. I knew there was like Wizard Hitler, or Whittler, if we could call him that, which is the Johnny Depp, Grindelwald, in this case Mads Mikkelsen Grindelwald character, who's trying to rise to power. And in the beginning of this film, he actually sends his minions, like Ezra Miller, after this deer. This, like, famous deer that has, like, scales down its back and stuff. And apparently this deer has the ability to spot, I guess through scent or something, I don't really know. It recognizes somehow in a psychic, supernatural way when someone has a completely pure heart, and it always bows to that person. And Mads Mikkelsen's Grindelwald is going to use that as a political tool to try to win this election coming up in the wizarding world. And that's basically the plot of the film. And when his henchmen steal this particular deer, they bring it back to him. He kills it by slitting its throat, then he brings it back to life in an evil way. But it doesn't look like it's dead. It doesn't look evil. It just looks like a fucking deer lizard. So he does that to cheat in the election towards the end of the movie, but that's not really a spoiler. It's not really how it goes about things. But it turns out Newt Scamander was there first. The henchmen attacked him out in the woods. He went on the run, nearly died. And he happens to have another baby deer lizard that he keeps with him. Apparently this grown-up deer lizard parent, whatever, had two baby deer lizard twins. It had twins, is what I'm trying to say. And Newt thought there was just the one, so he's taking care of that one. He puts it in his little house suitcase thing and kind of travels around with it. And of course, Dumbledore calls upon him and a bunch of other people, like the previous cast members. Jacob even gets called back, which doesn't really make sense for the mission at hand. It kind of does, but kind of not. It makes sense to me on where I think they're going with this. I guess it's just a fan theory thing. It could end up being, like, in hindsight, 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, 5 years potentially down the road, where Part 4 and Part 5 are coming out. It could be the kind of thing where, like, in hindsight, I'm like, now Part 3 doesn't make any sense with the plan Dumbledore had. And Jude Law plays Dumbledore once again. I actually think he's good, but does anybody else think that he's kind of modeling his Dumbledore, or maybe the script is modeling this Dumbledore, more after the original actor that played Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies, and not the second guy who took over because the original guy died? I don't remember any of their names, I'm so sorry. Not to be disrespectful, I just don't know the names off the top of my head. But Jude Law seems to be modeling it after that original Dumbledore actor, and I think that's kind of nice, in a weird tribute-y way. I don't know how great he is, but I think he's okay. Yeah, he's good for the movie, I guess. I also do not remember that Grindelwald and Dumbledore were gay together. I knew obviously that Dumbledore was gay. That's been talked about in the fandom for ages. Did not know enough about Harry Potter to remember, or even if they said it in Part 2, which they would have had to set up this movie. I swear to God, I do not remember that Grindelwald and Dumbledore were lovers. I swear I don't remember that. I thought it was some other dude. Maybe Dumbledore knew from his village or something. But anyway, they continue this whole plot about somebody is trying to communicate to Dumbledore through mirrors and whatnot. I don't want to give that away in case it was talked about not in the previous films. Again, I can't remember. But there is kind of a discussion about somebody reaching out as much as they can to Dumbledore through glass. Like, you know how when you're taking a shower, you get out and your mirrors in your bathroom are all foggy? Somebody's writing in, like, fog that they breathed onto mirrors, and it's coming through to his side in a weird psychic way. And Dumbledore's trying to figure out who that is. He kind of knows who it probably is. You probably know who it is, too, if you saw the film back in the day. But assuming it wasn't told to us back in the day, in Part 2 and Part 1. But a lot of this film was focused a lot more on everybody getting together, including Jacob the baker, some of the other people we saw in previous films, Newt and his brother, Dumbledore, trying to get a plan together on how to stop Mads Mikkelsen now that they know that he can see the future. And they're trying to figure out, how do you approach building a plan to stop a guy who would know what your plan is? To me, their idea of going in without a plan, period, is stupid. It's really, really stupid. Because he would still see the fucking future. Any betrayal that you pulled or anything, he would see. Now, J.K. Rowling, I love. I really do. I think she's super talented. Even if Part 4 and Part 5 that are supposed to end the Fantastic Beasts films, even if they become a little too predictable by the end of this era, run, whatever, of movies, series, I don't know what to call it, even if they end up becoming bad films by the end of the series, I don't really think it's going to matter to me, because I really like what I've seen. These films are beautifully shot. This is directed by David Yates, who did a lot of the later Harry Potter movies. I love David Yates' movies. I think he does a great job on how he shoots things, how he develops that Harry Potter world for his films. I really love that. But it's also the dark and gritty curse. Like, a lot of people I talk to online seem to hate Fantastic Beasts 2 and 3 because of this dark, gritty nature. People seem to agree, and I get where they're coming from about this Grindelwald storyline should have been its own thing and not tied to Fantastic Beasts. To me, it saved Fantastic Beasts for me, because the last thing I give a shit about is movies about characters going out in the woods and finding different monsters in the Harry Potter world. That just doesn't interest me at all. That sounds like the worst of the Star Trek episodes from back in the day. I don't want that. That sounds like the worst of the Star Trek movies, for that matter. Again, I don't want that. Like the Star Trek Whales movie, fuck that movie. I don't want that kind of stuff. So I disagree with them, but I understand exactly where they're coming from. That makes perfect sense to me, but I don't agree. So a lot of this film is the build up to trying to stop Grindelwald, but also prevent him from cheating in this election. I know it's a very timely discussion to bring that up into anything, Harry Potter or otherwise, because of the recent, I want to say 4 or 5 years of discussions about election integrity and so on, all the way back to 2016, some people would say, depending on who you are and what you believe. But all of this discussion about election integrity is, personally, to me, it's not directly focused on our current day culture. And I like that. J.K. Rowling is really good about taking stuff and being timely with it, but not being too heavy-handed for me personally. I think she does a great job here with the writing, and she co-wrote with somebody for this film. Apparently it was what people are saying is a real screenwriter. I don't know who he is. But I think overall, to me personally, I really loved Crimes of Grindelwald quite a bit. But Secrets of Dumbledore, in some ways I like more. Some ways I like less, but I do have certain things about it that I like more. I don't know who I like more as Grindelwald, Johnny Depp or Mads Mikkelsen. I think Mads Mikkelsen really kills it here, man. He is the reason to see this film, despite people like me being pissed over what WB did to Johnny Depp. But again, the film is beautifully shot. The music is wonderful, man. There's one scene where we go back to something that really means a lot to us Harry Potter fans from back in the day. And man, the music, the way it lands in that particular scene, and if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. That particular wonderful moment on, like, mountains or whatever. Dude, it's great. It's fucking great. All the magic stuff, the wizardry stuff, that stuff is kind of par for the course of Harry Potter. You kind of have, since this takes place in the 30s, I believe is what they said at one point, I think was the case. When you have, like, essentially modern day versions of old movie black and white film shootouts, but with wands, that's kind of fun. There's a lot of fun in the film, dude, and there's a grim, dark tension to this series, after part 2, I mean, but especially in this movie too. It has like that Deathly Hallows feel to it, quite a bit, where it feels almost hopeless, but our characters are still trying to stop Grindelwald, in this case, from doing evil. And I really like how that's handled, but there's a good balance of fine, solid humor in there as well. I really like this series, after part 2, that is. I don't understand where people are coming from when they say they hate it. I really don't. And maybe people just wanted something more uplifting and light, and not like a pseudo-remake of Harry Potter with Voldemort and Harry. This doesn't have the whole Chosen One storyline, at least for the most part. I mean, you could argue there's a little bit of that with Ezra Miller's character. By the way, Ezra Miller, not a fan, can't stand him. I think there's a couple of moments in here that he actually does a little bit better than what he usually does in these movies. I remember that a little bit in part 2, but I never really give the guy credit because he's a fucking scumbag in real life. But he was good there in part 2 from what I remember. Maybe better than here, I don't know. But in here, specifically, Secrets of Dumbledore, he's got a couple of moments that kind of feel like, wow, you know, he probably could be a good actor if he wasn't such a douche in real life. I don't know, man. I could see why people hate Secrets of Dumbledore so much, but I'm not one of those people. I am not one of those people that hate this trilogy or series or whatever. And I'm kind of looking forward more and more to part 4 and part 5. But I do agree with people at the end of the day. I don't think I remember and love the Harry Potter movies, at least the majority of them, because of how nostalgic I am for them. I genuinely think a majority of those, the earlier days and the later days, I think they're fantastic. I really do. I think they're exceptional films that brought something so new to not only books with J.K. Rowling's books, but to movies. You know, I think they really brought this refreshing thing. And personally, I don't think you would have things like Hunger Games if you didn't have Harry Potter. I don't think you'd have Twilight if you didn't have Harry Potter, because that series, when it kind of developed more into, like, again, YA, young adult stuff, that's when I think movie studios had the idea to go ahead and do Twilight, do Hunger Games, and all this weird YA shit, like Divergent and whatever. I think that's when they had the balls to finally try to do that and adapt those things. But to me, Harry Potter, the movies for the majority, are really great. The Fantastic Beasts films, what my point was going to be, is that they're kind of forgettable. And I think a big part of that for me is that despite my love for part 2 and part 3 here, even though I haven't seen this one before, I don't think by the time we get 4 and 5, because I think 4 is coming out in like 2026 or 7, somewhere in there, I don't know. I don't think it's this year. Whenever that comes out, I think I'll have forgotten a lot of these other Fantastic Beasts films. Not that I think part 1 really matters in the grand scheme of things, but I think they're kind of forgettable compared to the Harry Potter franchise, even though these technically are part of that as prequels. So I don't know, do you feel that way too? If you happen to be a big Harry Potter fan, maybe read the books, maybe if you haven't, if you love the movies, if you like or dislike the franchise for Fantastic Beasts, I would love to hear what all of you have to say down in the comments section down below, because I really just, maybe I'm missing something here because I haven't seen 1 and 2 in so long, but I really liked this. You know, almost 3 years down the road, I finally watched this movie. Had a friend of mine at work, Jacob, who really, really loves Harry Potter. He was a big Potterhead fan. An old HR lady that used to work at my company, she left the company before, this particular movie came out, so I never got to ask her about it. But she liked the Fantastic Beasts film. She was there on premiere night every single time. My friend Jacob was too, and he really loved this movie. Maybe the online discourse is always more heavily, against everything than what you actually see with normies day to day. I really think that explains certain things, like when you see box office numbers and stuff on how something shitty succeeded, I don't know. I'm just curious what a lot of people out there, normie or fanatic, think about this movie or the Fantastic Beasts film, specifically 2 and 3. Those are the real big ones for me that I want to hear people's thoughts on. Again, I kind of regret making this almost 20-minute long review without just going out and rewatching 1 and 2 to talk to you all about this movie, but maybe I'm missing something, maybe I'm forgetting something here, I don't know. I feel like a lot of my small issues that I can't really go into because of spoilers, I feel like a lot of those things are things that were addressed in part 1, and specifically part 2 more so, that I'm just forgetting about here. But I still like the majority of the film. I think there's some really good moments. There's actually a scene towards the end involving Dumbledore that, and kind of a showdown, that really got to me. It was very well made for that particular scene, man. Yeah, Secrets of Dumbledore. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Let me know everything you think about all the Harry Potter stuff. The original movies, the books, the Fantastic Beasts series, all of that. Let me know everything. So, thank you all for watching, guys. Are you looking forward to part 4 and part 5 to end off the series? Are you looking forward to this Harry Potter TV show? I have to know what you think about that. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.